Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that has now completed the circle of combinations of different, host pairings, officially as of this episode. Just Drew and I this week. No Matt for you, but I am Dallas. That is Drew. And on today's show, we are going to be talking about all things midseason in baseball. We just passed the halfway point of the season, so a little bit later, we're going to talk some midseason awards. We will also discuss all of our normal, things. We'll talk about our teams in Fan Corner. We'll also get a little recap of Drew's trip to Wrigley. But before we get to all that, we're going to start with some discussion real quick. Look, some baseball history was made last night as we record this, and we won't spend too much time on it because we didn't prepare too much for it. But last night I watched the Dodgers game. It's funny, I figured I'll turn it on and it'll be like half hour and I'll go do something else after that's over once he gets to the three strikeouts. And it ended up being like an hour and a half because it took him a little bit to get there. But it was his 100th pitch, and Clayton Kershaw got his 3,000th career strikeout. Came against the White Sox, who put up, quite a fight to get him those three strikeouts that he needed. But it was a great moment, so thought we'd touch on it. I thought it was really cool. He did everything the fans wanted, couple curtain calls. So it was fun to watch. Did you get to catch it at all, or?
Yeah, I wasn't watching live, but I definitely saw all the clips and everything. I thought it was funny that he only needed three going into the game, like you mentioned,
Right.
and it took him all the way to the sixth inning. He's not quite the strikeout guy he once was, obviously, but it's a great moment. It's funny too, like the balanced schedule now that we play with, that it's against the White Sox. It's kind of like
Yeah.
that's just like a funny footnote. Like that's not a team he faced very often in his career. It would have been cool against the Giants or the Padres or someone like that. But take nothing away from him. I mean, he's, for my money, the best pitcher of our generation. I mean, he's up there with
Yeah.
Verlander and Scherzer for sure. But in terms of his run of dominance when we were in high school, three Cy Youngs in 4 years, including an MVP in there. Um, just one of the all-time great pitchers. And whether you're a Dodger fan or not, you got to admit it's pretty cool that a guy like that in today's game played his whole career with one team and was able to have that level of success. Um, it's cool. I hope we see more of it. It seems like we're kind of trending that way with all these extensions and stuff. But yeah, it's a cool moment for him and his family and the culmination of a great career. And we'll see how much more he's got in the tank. He keeps signing these 1 year deals with the Dodgers, 1 year at a time. Maybe this is it. He's won his Cy Youngs. He's won his World Series now. He got to 3,000 strikeouts. Easy first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll see. He's still south of 40, but he's getting up there with innings and pitches and all that.
Yeah, watching last night was a good reminder that because like they would mention it, of course, because the whole broadcast is about him, pretty much the whole game, and so it's like I'm reminded that he's not quite ancient yet, in that
Hmm.
way where it's like he's not 41, he's not 42, he's still south of 40, so and looking at the team the Dodgers have right now, he's like they're going to keep signing me to these 1 year deals as long as I want. Why not hang on for a little bit and see if I can get a couple more,
Hmm.
if we can get them. So yeah, it was fun. It was that backdoor slider, really nice paint. It was interesting because as someone who watched the game in up until that point, the umpire last night. He did. There were a few borderline pitches in the lower part of the zone, more toward the middle of the plate, that he didn't call for Kershaw. And so when I
He's
saw that
squeezing him a
that
bit.
yeah, when I saw that borderline pitch, it was a strike, but when I saw it, I was like, "There's no way he's gonna call that. Like he's got to call it a strike. Like I'm sorry, like you can't miss that." And if I was the umpire in them, I would be sweating. Like I would be sweating. Like oh man,
Anything
that
close, I'd be I'd be ready
anything
to.
close, you're calling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was fun. It was fun to see those kind of moments. They're talking about who's close. It's going to be a while, if before one of the close guys can get there.
Maybe. Yeah,
So
like I was looking at that this morning. Chris Sale
yeah,
is 400 something away. I think he has it in him, as
yeah,
long as he keeps giving it his all. I know he gets hurt a lot, but that's not for him. That's not that many strikeouts. If it's like over, if he plays 5 more years, even with injury, I think he could get there. And then Garrett Cole has an outside shot at it.
yeah,
He's also 34. He's recovering from Tommy John, but he seems the type of guy like Scherzer and Verlander. He could pitch into his 40s, and if he does that, I think Garrett Cole could get there. But then after that,
yeah.
um, I know
Be a
we
long
have
time.
these young stars in our league, and who knows how their career will pan out. But the way it goes these days, it seems like the arms just aren't built to last, and the peaks are high, but maybe not very long. I mean, Jacob deGrom is a good example from that same generation, basically, but he just missed so much time that he won't get there. So we'll see. But it's
Yeah.
it's it's always a cool thing when people hit those big milestones.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get to it. First thing we want to do on today's show is talk midseason awards. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look back at who we predicted to get the main awards at the beginning of the season and see how those picks are looking now. And then what we'll do is we'll give out awards as if they were given out today. And so that's how we'll do it. So let's first start and let's run down who we chose for AL and NL MVP in our preseason predictions.
Yeah, so preseason, the picks were it was made by me, and I decided not to go the safe route for these picks. So I did not choose Aaron Judge. I did not choose Shohei Ohtani. For the American League, I chose Mariners center fielder Julio Rodriguez, and for the National League, I chose Cubs new right fielder Kyle Tucker. So to check in on those, um, Julio is not having that great of a year. Um,
No.
he's kind of regressed, each year of his career so far in honestly kind of a concerning way, where we
Yeah.
thought he was going to be one of the next superstars of the game. And, same with Adley Rutschman. They were the same class, but um, they just, not trending the right direction. Still young, but not having the best year. And maybe I should have gone the safe route because my pick right now for AL MVP at this point in the season has to be Aaron Judge. He is leading the league in so many offensive categories, and the number one competitor to him right now is actually on the Mariners. It's Cal Raleigh, their catcher. He's having an
Hmm.
amazing year. One of those years where um, it would be an MVP if there wasn't maybe an all-time great in the league. It reminds me a lot like what Aaron Judge is doing right now reminds me a lot of Mike Trout for the first whatever 8 years of his career where he
Yeah.
was top two in 7 out of 8 years or something like that. Um, basically it was Trout versus the guy who's having the best year of his career every
Hmm.
year. And so that's kind of how Aaron Judge feels right now. He's Aaron Judge. He's leading Cal Raleigh in WAR, hits, batting average, which batting average by a lot. It was like almost 90 points. Uh, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, OPS plus, all of those things, Aaron Judge has the edge over Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh has two more home runs than him at this point and one more RBI at this point, and he plays a really good catcher. So, that does something for me. But if Judge was a little less good, I could stretch it and give it to Cal Raleigh, but Judge just he leads them in so many categories that I can't, in good conscience, choose Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, sometimes you got to make the responsible choice. He's leading Aaron Judge by 2 home runs. I saw those 2 home runs in one game in person when I went to Mariners Angels, and yeah, he's hitting them far and long. And I can't wait to see him in the home run derby. We haven't recorded
Yeah,
since he confirmed for the home run derby. I think still the only confirmed, right, as of right now.
No, no, there's three
Or
total.
Acuna confirmed as well. But who else? I
Yeah,
didn't. I missed the third one.
yeah. Today there was one.
Oh,
James
James
Wood is
Wood.
going to join, and then
All right.
immediately I think he's going 5 for 5 at the moment as we
Yeah.
record this. So
Nice.
um, yeah, so far looks like an exciting field, and I'm excited for Cal. I also saw him hit a home run when I was in Minnesota. I went to Mariners
Mm,
Twins game. A lot of home runs in that game, but Cal Raleigh was one of them.
nice. Yeah. Well, Cal Raleigh appreciators, we are for sure. So, what about the NL?
Well, in the NL, I think I might have nailed it. Shohei Ohtani is having an amazing year, as always, but Kyle Tucker is kind of right there with him, and I think similar to what I was just talking about with Mike Trout and Aaron Judge, Shohei is that guy in the National League. It's going to be Shohei versus the guy who's having the best year of his career. And right now, Kyle Tucker is ahead of Shohei in certain categories, behind Shohei in certain categories. And there's other candidates as well. Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle's outfield mate on the Cubs, is having a great year. Um, I compared it. I did a whole comparison chart. There was other guys. Fernando Tatis was having a great year. He kind of slowed down, but overall, I think Kyle Tucker is just doing the most things the best. So maybe not the best at any one thing, but he just does it all. He hits for power, he hits for average, he plays a pretty decent right field. Um, so at the halfway point, I'd have to give it to him. Now, will that hold the whole season if Shohei keeps pitching and pitching more innings, and if those innings are more effective? It's going to be very tough to argue with him being MVP any year that he pitches and hits. So we'll see what happens with that. So far, he hasn't pitched enough for me to really take that into account, but it's going to be a tough race.
Yeah, last time we did an episode, he had just returned, and it was like the Thursday after he came back that we recorded. And yeah, just excited to see Shohei going two-way again. It's gonna be good. But yeah, Kyle Tucker, look, it's gonna be fun to watch him in the All-Star game. It'll be fun. He'll be out there, and yeah, I think when you look at a team like the Cubs, they're I'm sure they're ready to make him that offer. And so we'll see what he commands after this year. But if it continues on this pace, he could have a really big bargaining chip in the form of that MVP trophy.
And another guy, Kyle Tucker, that I saw hit a home run in person when I went to Wrigley Field. I saw again, and I got lucky on this trip. I saw a lot of home runs in all the games I went to. But Kyle Tucker was one of them. Pete Crow Armstrong was another. So a couple teammates are going to be starting next to each other in the All-Star game. And I'm excited to see what the second half has in store for them. First place Cubs right now.
The first place Cubs, and don't mispronounce it. All right, so look, let's go to the next award that we want to talk about, which is Cy Young. So who did we have at the beginning of the year for Cy Young?
Yeah, so we went with Matt's predictions on Cy Young, and he
Hmm.
chose for the American League Garrett Crochet, the Boston Red Sox, and for the, did I say National League? I don't know. American
No,
League,
you said American
Crochet.
League, right?
Okay. And for the National League, Paul Skeens, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So a couple of popular choices, but maybe a little less obvious than MVPs. Um, and so far, both guys are having great years. They're definitely right in the discussion, even if they're not the winners. But I think in the National League, Paul Skeens is the guy right now. It's close. The other guy I would really um, take into consideration is Zach Wheeler, who seems like gets top three in Cy Young every year, but never wins it. Um, he's having a great year. He's actually doing a better job preventing runs so far, or I mean, a better job at striking guys out so far, which that's one of Paul Skeens' calling cards. But Paul Skeens has been the better run preventer, despite not winning very many of his starts because the Pirates don't seem to hit when he pitches. But I think Paul Skeens, the young second year guy, He was third place in Cy Young last year. Zach Wheeler was second. I think he's just going to leapfrog him. And he's my midway point Cy Young. And I think, the pitchers haven't been announced, but I think he should start the All-Star game.
There you go. I think so too. I mean, he did last year, and it feels like that should be, that should be something that continues as long as, he remains that guy. The Zach Wheeler, the Phillies, leapfrogging on the Mets after their skid. Phillies in first now, just by a hair, but they're doing good. Always, if I don't know, I go back and forth on who my National League team is. My National League guy is for sure Bryce Harper, but so that makes me almost, probably just default Phillies. So I always get excited when they start getting hot.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I root for different teams at different times. We got to give love to the Padres, of course.
Yes.
Cubs are a team I often pull for, but as long as one of them beats the Dodgers in the playoffs, it's all good with me.
Yeah, I'm for the field in the NL playoffs, that's for sure. So that's who we got at the beginning. Who would we give it to right now if the season ended today in the middle?
Well, in the American League, I think I would give it to Tarek Skubal. And that was, to harken back, that was my pick. There was a good argument for Crochet, and there still is an argument for Garrett Crochet, but I think Skubal has been the best pitcher in the American League once again. I think the second best pitcher so far in the American League has been Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. He had a dominating month of June. He has the lowest ERA, I believe, right now in the American League, but Skubal's walk percentage is so much lower than the other leading candidates, including Crochet, Max Fried with the Yankees having a good year. And of course, Skubal strikes out guys at an amazing rate. Tigers are the best team in the American League so far this year, and he won it last year. I think he would be my pick to start the All-Star game, which is also to say the midseason Cy Young.
Yeah. Skubal, the Tigers have the biggest division lead right now. It's like 12 games or something. Like, they're really far up in that division. I like it was Skubal, right? Like at the Sunday night game where they were playing against and so it's like something like, every first pitch of a game had been like a fastball, and it was against Byron Buxton, was leadoff hitter, and he swings at every, first pitch he sees. And then, Skubal hits him with the off speed, and Buxton looks at it. That was fun. I liked that. Just two guys who know what the other is expecting, and they just do the opposite and then just beat them. It was great.
Skubal's had a few like fun. It's clear he's having fun out there this year, like having little jokes with players and things like that. It's interesting. You pointed out that the 12-game lead they have. Our preseason prediction for this division was that we don't know who's going to win it, but it's going to be very close. Well, if you look at the other three teams that we thought could be in the mix, they are very close, but they're all like below average to bad. That's the Guardians, Twins, and Royals, and the Tigers have been great, and they've been taking advantage of their opportunities. They're the only team in that division with a positive run differential, and they're plus 99, so that's one of the best. It's the second best in the American League, and third best overall. So, I mean, they've just been great, and Skubal is the face of that team right now.
Yeah, 100%. So there we go. Some good choices for midseason Cy Young. Another one that we might have gotten right. We'll see. We're sticking with Paul Skeens there.
You can get one correct per pick, or per award. That would be great. That's a very high. Yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, so let's move on to Manager of the Year, and let's talk about who we had at the beginning of the year for that award.
Yeah, this was another one that Matt made the pick for, and his preseason prediction was that Mike Schilt would get Manager of the Year for the National League. He was the Padres manager, and your boy Ron Washington would be the American League Manager of the Year. Uh, and looking at those picks, they're not that bad. I
No.
think Mike Schilt has the Padres about where people expected them to be, which shouldn't be an argument against him, but unfortunately, that's just the way this award works. It's about defying expectations in a good way, and the
Yep.
Padres have basically been what we expected them to be. So I don't know if he's going to win the award, but he's doing a bang up job, I think. And then the American League, I think Ron Washington definitely would be in the discussion. The Angels
Mhm.
are um, a team that a lot of people just wrote off as being straight up bad. And it's not like they're doing great, but they are doing much better than the expectations are. They're
Yep.
500. Um, they've beaten some good teams along the way. They had that great sweep against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Um, and unfortunately, Ron Washington is going to miss the rest of the year as of, what is this, a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Now he's got some health issues he's dealing with. So it's kind of a bummer because he definitely could have been in the conversation.
Mhm.
But I mean, for the midseason award, he's still in the running. But for the full season, I think he's just not going to have a chance.
Yeah, and that happened since the last time we recorded too, so we can talk about that a little bit. That was a huge bummer. I think the team was at the time that he, had to take a leave of absence at the time. It was like he'll be out indefinitely, but not quite. He might come back this year. I think the team was they were doing really well. Like they were consistently sort of playing like in a good way. Like they were playing in a good way, in a consistent way. They were kind of on an upward swing, and he kind of had to. Unfortunately, he had to leave in the middle of that. They've continued to win here, lose here, kind of a thing, but not totally dip off yet. And so, that has continued, but I think he got them to a place where, the young players got really confident, and it started to pay off there right before he unfortunately had to take a leave. But, I hope he's all right. I hope he can return at some point. If he wants to come back, I'm sure the Angels would have him back. But for now, it'll be Ray Montgomery for the Angels. But yeah, Ron Washington, he's a lot of fun. He's one of those old school guys that I like to see in the dugout every now and then, and it's been nice to have him in the dugout for my team. So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. But obviously, wanted to take off if he needs to, and the game will miss him, but I'd like him to be around for longer. So. Um, so yeah, that happened since we last recorded too, so I wanted to mention that. But
Mhm.
okay, so manager of the year, who do we have in the midseason? Who has won the midseason manager of the year award?
Yeah, so I'll start in the American League. I think, like I said, Ron Washington certainly deserves some recognition. I
Hmm.
think Joe Espada of the Houston Astros, I think, after losing Bregman and Kyle Tucker, a lot of people had the Astros falling off. They are currently standing in first place in the American League West
Sort of a
by six and
commanding
a
first
half games.
place. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
I think AJ Hinch with the aforementioned Tigers deserves a lot of credit. I think it was kind of maybe 50-50. People had Tigers as a playoff contender, maybe not in, whatever. They have been great. They've been the best team in the American League. But I think the guy who wins it in my book, because like I said, this is an award of defying expectations. I think it's got to be John Schneider of the Toronto Blue Jays,
Sure.
who, as of today, I believe they were beating the Yankees to take sole possession of first place in the American League East. Um, they were a team that maybe not quite Angels level, but they were written off. They had a really bad year last year, and some people pointed out, I believe I pointed out on this podcast that it was a lot of bad luck, injuries, and what have you. But that was seen as the toughest division in baseball potentially, and they were seen by many people as the last place team. And they are about to be in first place by themselves. They're having a great year, resurgent year, and how much credit does the manager deserve? That's always hard to quantify
Hmm.
compared to the players, but um, I think if the season ended today, John Schneider would be winning that award.
Yeah, absolutely. The Angels have the Blue Jays coming up, so it'll be interesting. I haven't gotten too close a look, but I'll get one next week. And then, yeah, you think about the Blue Jays. This season, the tone of it, you know, preseason was sort of that way. And then when Vlad got the extension, it could have served as like a thing of like, no, we're not done. We're not done yet. Like
Hmm.
we are still here. He believes in us. And so it could have done something to energize everybody to get them to this point. And I think that was, a big part of it. So, yeah, Blue Jays, absolutely. They did do that.
And then, yeah, over in the National League, there's a lot of candidates. The National League is kind of crazy this year. From the National League, from the each division, there's teams that you're like, they're in what place this late in the season? Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna give some credit around to Terry Francona with the Cincinnati Reds. They have been a great team so far this year. He came in, took that young roster that looked promising, but just wasn't even really close to the playoffs last year, and they're right
Yeah.
in the hunt this year so far. Ollie Marmol of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think the Cardinals were similar to the Blue Jays. A lot of people kind of scratching their heads like, shouldn't they just give up already? Shouldn't they sell off all these guys? And they are also right in the thick of the playoff hunt. They're doing great. And then just recently, uh, our Miami Marlins have been going on a
Mhm.
great run. They've passed the Atlanta Braves in the standings, which is not something I thought could happen in July.
Crazy.
And Clayton McCullough, who is their first year manager over there, uh, deserves credit for that. He will be managing, or not managing, but he will be one of the coaches at the All Star game because Dave Roberts is the manager. He gets to pick his staff, and McCullough was on his staff last year with the Dodgers. So I think, maybe a little of uh, just like a friendly favor for him, but
Yeah.
cool nonetheless. But none of those guys are my pick. If the season ended today, I think I would pick Bob Melvin of the San Francisco Giants. Now it's tough because they've been kind of going in the wrong direction
Yeah.
lately, and so yeah, maybe if the season ended a week from now, he wouldn't be the pick. But I still think they've done well enough overall compared to what I expected them to do. They were right in line with the Dodgers just like 2 weeks ago for first place in that division, and I don't think a lot of people expected the Giants to be anything besides fourth place in that division. So um, I would choose Bob Melvin. And I don't know how many times he's won, but he's definitely already won a couple of these. So
Add
good for
another
him.
one to the shelf, according to us, at least the mid-season version of that. Yeah, we'll see how the rest of the Giants season goes. I think, uh, you know, a lot of, Giants fans can overreact to the last couple of weeks, post Devers trade. Things have not looked the way that they might have thought. It was not the rocket ship launch that they thought it might be.
Hmm.
Especially with maybe the Padres evening out a little bit. They thought maybe there was an opportunity there. Um, Trade deadline has not passed yet, so there could be more coming for the Giants. Buster Posey has proven already that he doesn't, have a care in the world about, um, you know, making big moves. So there could be more coming for them. So they do make that take advantage of that opportunity. But as of right now, yeah, it's easy for Giants fans, I think, to overreact to this little stretch here when it was not necessarily the rocket ship that they wanted to be on. But I think you're right. The Giants this year have defied expectations in those ways that you look for. And yeah, the Marlins, like anything but dumpster fire, was going to be something of a miracle, right? It's sort of viewed
Hmm.
that way. And so, yeah, shout out to them for sure. Um, okay, last one, Rookie of the Year. So let's talk about that award and who we had at the beginning of the year for that.
Yeah, this one is, I think, the hardest to predict because you've
Yeah.
never seen these guys in the major leagues, or at least hardly. And so my picks at the beginning of the year were Christian Campbell and Roki Sasaki. Christian Campbell for the American League. He plays on the Red Sox. It was big news that he made the opening day roster. Once upon a time, he had an amazing April. He was Rookie of the Month for April, and then just a dreadful May. So bad that when everyone started getting healthy and the roster was put back together, he was the one who got sent back down to AAA. It was not Marcelo Meyer or Roman Anthony who got called up much later than him. Uh, it was him. So right now he doesn't really stand a chance. It's possible he comes back up and gets hot again, but I think May was so bad, and now he's been down for a good portion of June and already all of July, all 3 days so far of July. Um, I think he's not gonna. I'm not counting him out for being a good player in the major leagues, but I think this year's Rookie of the Year is not going to be his. But in the National League, I think we had Roki Sasaki. I think that was the easy pick because his arm was so electric in Japan already. That's, a little higher level than the minor leagues where we see most prospects. Um, but, it's been documented on this program. He has not had the best year. Now he's been hurt for a while. We don't really know exactly his timetable to return. So I think he really does not stand much of a chance to win that award either.
No, and yeah, kind of crazy that there's still no timeline for him. I did not expect this long of a time away for him, but look, you got to do what you got to do for the long term, and so we'll see when and if in the regular season he returns. But okay, so who do we have for midseason? Who has proven themselves worthy of the Rookie of the Year so far as we go?
Yeah, in the American League, I'm going to go with the guy who was voted the starting shortstop for the All-Star game, and that is the city redacted A's shortstop
Okay.
Jacob Wilson. Um,
Yeah.
he is among rookies that I looked into because they have been having notable years. He leads in hits, RBIs, stolen bases, batting average, on base, OPS, and OPS plus. He is just he's just been great for the A's. So there's no way around it. And there's a couple guys who have been having good years. Carlos Narvaez, the catcher for the Red Sox, has
Mhm.
a higher WAR than Jacob Wilson right now, and I think a lot of that comes from he's been a very good defensive catcher. But and he's hit much better than we expected. Um, but I would still say Jacob Wilson has the edge over him. And then Cam Smith, who the Astros got in the Kyle Tucker trade, he has also been having a great year so far. So it's certainly not over. And then there's, a couple really high-end prospects that debuted later, so they don't have a chance at the midseason award. Jack Caglione with the Royals and Roman Anthony with the Red Sox. Either one of those guys could have a just electric second half and run away with the award. I wouldn't be shocked at all. But for the midseason award, it's got to be Jacob Wilson.
Yep. Absolutely. Those A's. It's going to be an interesting situation with him. To see how it all develops over the next few years. Does he make it to the promised land, or does he get traded away before we can get there? Or does he choose to go somewhere else before that stadium's built? Who knows, really when that stadium's going to be finished.
Or
So,
is he one of those guys that we've seen time and time again who have great rookie years and then never really match that production again? I mean, it happens.
yeah,
You never know.
yeah, true that. But okay, so now the NL, who do we have there?
Yeah, in the NL, there's not really a standout first half from a rookie. There are a few guys who are having solid years. I would say Drake Baldwin with the Braves is having a solid year. Um, and the Dodgers always call up a few guys that do their thing. But I think for the midseason award, although he hasn't been up long, I think I'm going to go with Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers, who is a top pitching prospect guy. He's come up. He's allowed hardly any hits. He's throws gas. He strikes people out. He outdueled Paul Skeens a week or two ago, and so far from what we've seen of him, limited sample size, he just looks great. And just because no one else really stood out as being great despite having more time, I'm
Mhm.
going with the higher end talent and over the longer time and choosing Jacob Mizorowski.
There you go. Nothing to it now but to do it there. So, we'll see how that goes. But okay, so there's our midseason awards. That's the wrap up there. We got some that we feel were pretty strong picks. Some of these guys have an opportunity to make a comeback. We'll see. But from here, those are our midseason awards. So let's continue the midseason extravaganza with another edition of one of our segments that we did earlier in the season, which is buy or sell. So we did this, I believe, shortly after opening week. We sort of did a little overreaction buy and sell on some teams that started slow or started hot, and so now we're here in the middle of the year, and we have another opportunity to buy some stock or sell some stock in some teams that we've picked. So just to run down the idea here, once again, so we have some teams that we're going to run down here. I believe we have six teams that we're going to run down, and so we will choose to buy stock in them if we think they're going to get better than they are today, and we will sell our stock if we think they're going to get worse than they are today. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I feel we can just kind of, we can both say what we think for all these teams, and then we'll talk about them a little bit. So the first team that we want to determine whether we want to buy or sell our stock in are the Atlanta Braves. So what are you going to do with your Braves with the Braves here?
Yeah, the Braves are a team. I picked them to win the National League East entering the season, and that is one of my worst predictions of the preseason. They have just not been great. They started off really slow. We talked about that back in a past episode, and they never fully recovered. They slightly recovered, and then they kind of regressed again. Jurickson Profar missed a huge chunk of the year because of a steroid suspension. Chris Sale has been great when on the IL. AJ Smith Scheuer, I think, needs Tommy John,
Yeah.
and Spencer Schwellenbach has been great, and he broke his elbow or something. So they just have had a lot of bad luck for the second straight year. I feel bad for the Braves, but like we mentioned before, they got surpassed by the Marlins, and so if you're still holding on to any of that Brave stock, I would sell it. I do not foresee a comeback into the playoff picture for them. They're 7 games out of the wild card, 11 and a half out of the division, and in the wild card standings, they would have to leapfrog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. So
Yeah.
the 7 back is not as important as how many teams they would have to leapfrog, and I just don't foresee it happening for the Braves this year. And we'll see what the offseason brings. They still have a lot of their guys locked up, so um, you know you don't have to totally blow up the roster, but that's back-to-back disappointing years for the Braves.
Yeah, I watched the Braves pretty closely over the last few days. Angels played them and won that series. And they scored no runs in the first game. They scored, I think, like 9 in the second game, but like 7 of them came off one pitcher, and then they scored 1 in the third game. And so it's like, watching this team and seeing them struggle to score runs, just generally, not even considering their opponents. Just generally watching this team, struggle to score runs was a very jarring experience because of who's coming to the plate, right? And so, yeah, very strange year, but I'm also selling on the Braves. Yeah, do not get out. If you're holding on to Brave stock at this point, hold on to it through to next year, and maybe you can, GameStop style bottom out and then, shoot way up. Who knows? But yeah, for now, sell it off, not worth it. Okay, so the next team we want to talk about is the Seattle Mariners. Kind of separating themselves is kind of a little bit too soon to say that in the division for second place. Like, the Houston Astros are pretty far ahead, but Astros, I think, are like 2.5 games up now on the Angels, or Rangers, whoever's in third right now. And so, you know, uh, we'll see. So what do you think about the Seattle Mariners? We buying stock or are we selling stock?
I'm gonna buy stock. I'm not gonna buy a ton of stock, but I'm gonna buy or at least hold it. I think they are going into the year. I thought they'd be a borderline playoff team that would just miss, and now I kind of see them as a borderline playoff team that's gonna make it. I think the American League is extremely weak. I've thought that all year. They are the last wild card team right now, and they are
Yep.
the last team with a winning record in the American League
Hmm.
before, because the next would be the Angels right now, and they're 500. So um, I think their offense has been what's carried them to this point, which is very strange because that has been the opposite of the case in the last several years. And I think maybe their offense isn't going to last at this rate, but I think their pitching definitely won't last at this rate. And their pitching will be better as the season goes. I still think they have one of the stronger pitching staffs. So I'm going to buy. I think they can keep doing this and do well enough to make the playoffs. And once they get there, we'll see. I really have no clue how to predict the American League playoffs right now. Good thing we have a long way until then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd buy some Mariner stock.
Yeah, I'll buy too. The home run derby curse is not something I believe in. I do not believe in it. But I know Mariners fans are on their knees praying against it right now because if for some reason the home run derby curse is real and it hits it hits Cal Raleigh, that is going to be, we're going to wish we sold at that point if he drops off in some way. It's not real. It's not gonna happen, but which is why I'm buying. But that could be a reason to sell if you are superstitious and believe in such things.
Well, I also think he's been on such a crazy pace. It would be doubly amazing if he kept that pace all year.
Right,
So
right,
like
right.
I just think by default he will have a the home runs are going to slow down to some extent. He might still hit 50 bombs, which is
Yep.
amazing for a catcher. But like if he doesn't hit 60, are people going to blame the home run derby? I don't know. They probably will, but that's I think silly.
Yeah.
Um, but regardless, he'll be right there in the MVP conversation, and I think the Mariners will slip into the playoffs.
All right. So next team up, I put them in here because currently as we record, they are coming off a bit of a slide. In terms of multiple struggle buses in a row here. And so I put the New York Mets in here. And so what do we think about the Mets?
I'm gonna buy stock in the Mets. I think the Mets, they're right now they're in the wild card, the first wild card spot in the National League, and that's despite being on just an awful, awful stretch of baseball right now.
Mhm.
Juan Soto is officially back. If you thought he ever left, you have to recognize that he is back by now. He has been doing amazing. I think he was Player of the Month for the National League for the month of June. And I just don't believe that the Mets are as bad as this couple week stretch that they've been on. I think there are ups and downs throughout a baseball season. I think there are bad teams that have more downs, and there are good teams that have more ups. But like we've seen it many times where a team is really good and they have a terrible stretch of baseball, and everyone scratches their head, and then we forget about it by the end of the season. We've also seen it, of course, where teams just fall off. I don't believe that the Mets are that team. They still have a positive run differential by quite a ways. They are still 12 games over 500. They are still only 1.5 games behind the Phillies for first place in their division. So I do think the Mets are a playoff team, and I think I'm going to buy stock in them.
Yeah, I think, while I do think that, getting, in this stretch that we're talking about here, getting swept by the A's and then getting just absolutely obliterated by the Pirates, it's not nothing. I think that, the bigger picture definitely tells a different story than the last couple weeks. And so I think we need to give the Mets a little more time before, people start panic selling. So I think right now I buy two. And, it's interesting to watch fan reaction versus player reaction in times like this, because I was seeing some Juan Soto stuff today. There was a video of him. He's at third base. Brandon Nimmo gets called on a check swing, and he's having fun with the umpire at third base. It's like this is a time where you're in the middle of a stretch that's not very good, and there's a borderline call that doesn't go your way. You could show some frustration there. You could show some disappointment. You can hang your head, but he's just out there keeping it breezy, having a good time. So, I think Mets fans, watch the players and see how they're reacting. They're not panicking yet. Neither should you. And so we won't either. So
It reminds me of last year's Yankees team. They were the best team in the American League for like the first 2 months, and then were pretty bad for a couple months of summer. And then by the end, it evened out. They were still the best team in the American League at the end of the season, and they made the World Series. Now, obviously, that didn't work out for them, but I think that counts as a successful season to most teams, and I see the Mets in that same kind of light.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so next team I want to talk about is the St. Louis Cardinals, another team that maybe defied expectations a little bit this year. We didn't really know what to make of them. They're sitting 6 games above 500 right now, so put them in here to see what we think, if we think that that trend will continue and they'll kind of be frisky all year, or what do we think about what will happen with St. Louis?
Yeah, the Cardinals, it's tough. It's tough. I'm gonna I'm gonna sell a little bit, and the reason I'm selling is because right now they're 6 games over 500. They are in a playoff spot. Uh, this is like all best case scenario for this season for them. The pitching has been great. I know that from checking on the home run draft standings. But I just still believe there are better teams in the National League than the Cardinals. I think the Padres are better. They are technically right behind them in the um,
Hmm.
wild card standings.
Yep.
I think the Giants are a better team than the Cardinals. I think maybe even the Reds are a better team than the Cardinals. So a lot of credit to the Cardinals, and I never want to count them out because of the Cardinals of our youth were always very scrappy and very good, and would make the playoffs, and then if they made the playoffs, they would make the NLCS. So I don't want to count them out, but I just don't necessarily think that they are as good as how they've been playing. Um, but I'll be happy to be wrong if they prove me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of tough for me because I think as much as I mentioned this on the last time I recorded with Matt, but as much as I think that there are these cusp teams in the playoff fields who are going to, and there's these clusters of teams in both leagues right now. One of those teams is going to try to buy at the deadline to try to shoot themselves above that cluster, right, for that third spot.
Hmm.
But as much as I believe that, I do believe that some in this cluster are going to punt, and one of them might sell. And the Cardinals, I think, might be one of those for me, where I think they might sell. And so they were trying to prior to the season starting. Their
Hmm.
ownership, is kind of in that mindset right now of let's try to, maybe not bottom out, but let's try to clean slate it as much as we can.
Hmm.
And so, you know what? I'll take a little risk here and I'll sell. I'll take my money that I have right now and I'll sell my stock there because I think they might be a team that tries to move on from themselves and then drop out of that field as the season goes on.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad take. I think fans of the Cardinals would be upset with that because why wouldn't you? You want to see your team compete
Right.
year in and year out. But I think, you've seen teams like the Padres, like the Giants, like the Mets be much more aggressive in past years when it comes to trades and when it comes to free agents and all that than the Cardinals have been. And so if that's the case, then I believe these teams will be more motivated than the Cardinals will be. And I think you'll also look around and see, oh, there's not that many true sellers who have valuable assets to sell. And if that's the case, I could see the Cardinals brass, who was already, kind of wanting to sell before, seeing this as a golden opportunity to really make their team better for the future. When, let's face it, this is not going to be a World Series year for the Cardinals. So
No.
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to sell on them.
Yeah. All right. So, uh, next team, San Francisco Giants. We've talked about them. And so,
Mhm.
I think listener, the discerning listener might know what we think here, but let's say it anyway. Buy or sell on the Giants.
This is a real tough one because I buy that they believe in themselves and that they are going to do everything they can to get there. I think Buster Posey will swing more trades. I think they'll try to upgrade their team, and I think they'll try to make it. That being said, I don't know if I see them as one of the playoff teams when the season ends. I I am torn on them because I always liked the Giants. It's my favorite team of a couple of my family members. But I'm kind of mad at Rafael Devers and the whole situation and the fact that he's over there and he has not been good in this recent skid that the Giants have been on. Um, and I don't know, like I don't have a good feel for what the vibes are with the Giants. Um, but I think they were always this year outperforming expectations, and now maybe they're kind of regressing to the mean. If they could swing a trade for a good pitcher, I don't know who's going to be the team to be the most aggressive to get pitching. That'll be who I buy as the last wild card team, but I
Yeah.
kind of don't think it'll be the Giants, and so with a heavy heart, I'm going to say I sell my Giants
Yeah.
stock.
Yeah, it's a well thought out decision. I think because I have a lot of the same thoughts. Uh, it's the battle of two. I mean, we Preller is a very well known, and we can maybe start transitioning to the next team, which is the Padres. I put on here. So in this
Hmm.
conversation, I'll say Preller is the proven aggressive, GM. Buster
Hmm.
Posey has done one thing that it was very aggressive, and so it, or two, in the offseason, he paid players a lot of money. So that,
Hmm.
and then Devers too. Like so this year he is acting very aggressive. So it can be assumed that at the deadline he will be too, but we just don't know really at this point. So if I'm talking
Hmm.
about, putting my money somewhere, and these are the last two teams we're talking about, I think I will also maybe sell in the Giants here to make a safer bet. And I'll transition to and then we'll go to you on this team. I will buy on the Padres because of this, proven track record of their GM to really go all in, push all the chips forward. I think that when that team is performing at its best, the Giants just don't quite stack up yet, even as their roster currently stands. And now,
Hmm.
yeah, anything crazy could happen, but I think on the Giants, I will sell. And the last team we're going to talk about, the Padres, I will buy. And so, where are you on the Padres?
I'm in the same boat. I'm going to buy on the Padres because I think um, you're exactly right. AJ Preller has proven to be one of the biggest aggressors as a GM since he took the job. He's always trying to make that big move. He's always, you know, he doesn't really care about prospects the way some other GMs hoard their prospects. We saw obviously the biggest example is when they traded for Juan Soto, but they also have made other moves. They made the move for Mike or for Dylan Cease. They made the move for Josh Hader a few years ago. Uh, they made the move for Luis Arraez last year in the beginning of the season. So they are going to be an aggressive team. We've already heard reports about them trying to upgrade left field or catcher. Um, I think some of their pitchers haven't been performing to their ability, and I think maybe that corrects itself at some point. But I just I've seen this roster do more recently than I've seen with the Giants, and
Yeah.
so for that reason, I believe more in the Padres, and I'm going to buy stock in them.
Right. All right, so that'll do it for midseason buy and sell. We'll check in on that another time, but that also serves as a little bit of substitute fan corner for the Padres since Matt's not here. We talked a little bit about them over the course of the show so far, but we are going to transition now to fan corner, and I'll start with the Angels. Mine's not too long. The Angels. Look, Drew's heard me say this before in previous seasons. I said it this season probably at some point to him too. Whenever the Angels start the season, and they start hot or, they start playing well at some point early on, I always say, talk to me in July. Well, here we are in July, and the Angels are not terrible. I think as the team stands right now, that's a very safe thing to say. They are exactly 500 by their record. I think there's a little bit of Scooby-Doo, let's see who you really are, and then you pull the mask off and you see a run differential like minus 48 or whatever that they have right now, and you're not super encouraged by that, and where that could, what that underlying stuff really means about, what they're doing. When they lose big, that's for sure. But I see a lot of, I have a lot more reason for optimism for the next few years for the Angels. These young players that they called up really early in their careers are actually developing the same, maybe not the same way they would be if they were in the minors, but they are actually showing signs of growth pretty much across the board. And Joe Adele just had a really good June. He was, I think, a contender for AL Player of the Month in June. His OPS was above 1,000, and he is really raking at the moment. And so we'll see how he continues as the season goes on. He wasn't Player of the Month contending earlier in the year, so we'll see where the middle is on that, if there is one. But all these other guys that they brought up really early and decided to keep up in the majors, they're showing signs of developing, which is encouraging. And then, the biggest thing for the Angels and the reason why they're 500, one of the big reasons why they're 500 is that, it's July and Mike Trout has played in a lot of games. Like, he hasn't played in, as many games as I'd like him to, but he's still in the lineup in July. And that is something that could not be said the last couple of seasons. And so that is a big contributor to, why they're able to, stay in a lot of these games. And Yusei Kikuchi's been great. He's been having a great year, very underrated year. I think he could be the Angels All-Star if they want to go that way. Whoever's picking, I don't know who picks that, actually, off the top of my head. But if they wanted to go that way, they could certainly go with Kikuchi, and it would make a lot of sense. And so, I think some encouraging signs for the next couple of years. I was sticking with sell everything you can last time we recorded. I don't know where I stand on that right now. They're kind of roping me in, so we'll see. Fan is short for fanatic, so the logic starts to disappear as soon as I see, some positive things happening. I start to fall over the edge. So maybe they're swaying me to at least keep what they've got and try to see what they can do. But we'll see what happens with the Angels. But definitely not terrible, and that is a pretty cool thing. So.
Yeah. Well, the Angels and Red Sox are not in such a different place when you look at the standings.
Yep.
Red Sox are one game behind the Angels in the wild card standings. The Rangers are right in between them. But it's funny because if you watch the Red Sox day in and day out, as I do, you would think bad team. Like, this is not a good team. This is not a playoff team. They make too many dumb mistakes. They probably lead the league in dumb mistakes. They're a young team, a lot of inexperienced guys. Errors, base running, mental errors, things like that.
Yeah.
And then you look at the standings, and they're 2 games under 500. They're only 3 games out of the third wild card spot. They have a positive run differential, which is better. They have the same run differential as the Mariners, who we just talked about. We like them. And you can kind of see, you can squint and you can see, okay, if they just put things together a little bit more, they could easily be a playoff team. And so lately, I mean, I haven't done a fan corner in probably a month because we've had
Right.
breaks and I was gone and things like that. But um, you trade Rafael Devers, things have not been great. They lost a lot of games, but then you win a couple games and you can kind of see the vision. And Masataka Yoshida just started his rehab assignment, so we could have his bat in the lineup around the All
Yeah.
Star break. Alex Bregman is supposed to be coming back soon after the All Star break. Um, you got Hunter Dobbins making his rehab appearances, and you can kind of see why so many people were high on the Red Sox going into the year, even without Rafael Devers, because a lineup that has been, holding its own. It's not been great, but it's holding its own. Um, that adds Alex Bregman and adds Masataka Yoshida and takes out, let's say, David Hamilton and
Hmm.
takes out. I think Yoshida's gonna like kind of platoon when he comes back. I don't know, but I like what I'm seeing. Roman Anthony is heating up. It took him a minute to adjust, but his underlying metrics were always there. He was hitting the ball harder than anyone on the team. Jarren Duran has not been great. You could see him potentially getting moved, even if the Red Sox quote unquote
Yep.
buy at the deadline. Like,
Sure.
they like to walk that line. I'm very interested to see what they do at the deadline. They've been saying we're going to buy after the Devers trade. That's all they've been saying. To me, that seems silly. Why announce anything definitively this far
Right.
away? But it's they still have me. I have not given up on this Red Sox team. I do not like what I see. If they make the playoffs, I certainly do not have hopes that they will go far in those playoffs. But I haven't given up, and the American League is the reason why. It's just not a good league, and so in a
Yep.
lot of years I would be like sell every piece you can, but this year it's like why not? The Angels are one of the teams you have to leapfrog. And no disrespect to the Angels, but I didn't think they would be. I know they beat us 5 out of 6 times we played this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
and
True.
that's symbolic of some of the issues we've had. We kind of just play to the level of whatever team, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been a frustrating year in a lot of ways. At the same time, the vision is becoming a little clearer. You're seeing guys you like, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, uh, Lucas Giolito has been nails his last few starts. Crochet has had a great year. We already talked about. Brian Bayo has pitched quality starts his last maybe like 4 or 5 in a row.
Hmm.
So they still have me. They still have me. Now today they
Yes.
went and visited the White House on a little tour, uh, and then got to meet the president because someone let them meet the president. So there was a that was going around. Uh, Very funny for a 43 and 45 record team that finished in third place last year to get to meet the president on today of all days. But uh, it's just another example of how frustrating this team can be and
Hmm.
how wacky of season it has been compared to going into this year. I had high hopes, and those hopes are certainly not going to be met. But we'll see where this journey ends.
Yeah. And yeah, what I'll say on that is, uh, it doesn't even have to be an all-out buy. Like you just buy a couple pieces, and that'll be enough for you to leapfrog the Rangers and the Angels. To separate
Hmm.
yourself from that group. For sure. And so I think it doesn't even have to be anything huge. Just do a little bit, and it'll get you there. Um, okay, so let's go to our second to last segment for this week. Let's go to Locked In, which is our predictions for the next week of play here. So I'll go first. I'll make another pick again. Look, last time we recorded, I made a pick because I was subbing in, and I'll make another pick this week. So the last time that I had a pick, I said that Rafael Devers would go over in his Giants debut weekend against the Red Sox. And that did not happen. It happened the first game, which was great. I was feeling good after the first game, but as a major league player who is good does, he got at least one hit over 3 games. So you know what? I'll take the L on that. It was a bold prediction that didn't pan out for me. But this week I'm gonna do another maybe a bold prediction here. This is about Jurickson Profar. He came back this week in the Angel series for the Braves, and he hit 2 home runs, one last night and one tonight. And so this coming week they play the Orioles at home and the Athletics on the road. And that is number 2 and number 1, respectively. Orioles are 2, Athletics are 1 in home runs given up. So I'm going to say Jurickson Profar hits 5 home runs in the next week. In his first full week back with the Braves, he's going to hit 5 home runs over the course of the next week. So we'll check in on that next time we record. It'll be from today recording to next recording. And between that time, they play the Orioles and the Athletics. So I'm going to say he capitalizes on the 2 teams who've given up the most home runs, and he hits 5 over the course of the next 6 or so games.
Yeah, that's a lot of home runs for a week, any week, especially coming back. But I'd feel better about the Braves' chances if he starts going off. That is quite an upgrade over Alex Verdugo for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last prediction, again, this was a long time ago now, but it was that I would have a beer at Wrigley Field, and sure enough, I did. I was there on June 19th. They played the Brewers. It was a day game. I didn't have the classic old style beer that is the beer associated with Wrigley Field because they had on tap Kona Big Wave, which is probably my favorite beer if I had to choose. So I went with that. But I did have it. It went down nice, and it was a warm day. Walked from the field to Lake Michigan and got in the water. So pretty good day.
Oh, wow.
I don't have anything that exciting planned for my prediction this week. Well, it depends who you ask. I'm going to take a page out of the Matt book since he's not here. I think we might see another pretty notable trade this week. I say another because the Rafael Devers trade that was clearly very notable. That's the first real notable one to go down this year. And I think we start to see these teams that are hovering around the fringes. I think they start to get a little antsy. We're a little less than a month away from the deadline now. I know we'll see much more as we get closer, but I think we might start to see a move here or there. Maybe not the most significant one, but I think there are too many teams that are right around the wild card picture, and one of them is going to want to jump the pack as soon as possible. And I could see a move being made. I don't know who it'll be. I don't know what teams will be involved, but I think we're going to start seeing that trickle in.
Getting some juice before the All-Star break is never a bad idea. Is what I'll say about that. Especially if you're a team that's been middling all year, and your fans are kind of entering the dog days of late July, early August. And they can kind of grow restless a little bit if you wait all the way till the deadline. So, for a team that's been middling, getting a little juice before the All-Star break, never a bad idea. So that might happen. Okay, so we'll check in on that next time we record. And then last thing we'll do for today, wrap up our show as we always do, our MLB show with Dingers and Stingers, the eponymous segment. That's a $10 word for you. And so we'll start with one good thing and one bad thing from the world of sports, and we'll start with me here, and we'll start with my bad thing. Now, Dingers and Stingers, when we originated it, was one good thing, one bad thing from the world of sports. So I'm going to take the license to go to general sports. It does include baseball, but it includes football as well. My stinger is that we have gotten some discouraging signs for upcoming collective bargaining agreement negotiations in both the NFL and MLB recently. In MLB, earlier this week, Commissioner Rob Manfred, he made some comments about the upcoming negotiations that'll take place sometime in the next couple years, probably start this offseason. And, he mentioned that, gave kind of a tip into the league strategy, which is going to be trying to undercut the union communication to the players and communicate directly to the players in sort of communicating the league's agenda here when it comes to collective bargaining agreement and negotiations there. A lot of that's going to be around, players, and from the league's perspective, losing billions of dollars in contracts by not revenue sharing, things like that. And so I never am in favor of when there is a union and a boss, the boss trying to bypass the union and communicating directly with the workers. What should be done is the proper process, which is the union heads and the boss communicating together, and the union, the players standing behind the union, and kind of in solidarity with that, he's trying to break that up and undercut that. Not something I like to hear. And then in the NFL, there was a little bit of a story in the NFL regarding a case that the NFLPA filed against the NFL when it comes to colluding to the NFLPA accused the NFL of colluding to make contracts for quarterbacks or any player not guaranteed, like colluding against the idea of guaranteed contracts. A fantastic episode of the podcast Pablo Torre Finds Out with the great Pablo Torre, where he broke that story because him being the sort of Ivy League educated journalist that he is, he got the legal documents, read through them, found the story, and reported it on his show. So go check that out if you haven't. It's really interesting, especially if you're interested in anything related to labor or even the NFL too. But the bottom line of it is something that came out in that investigation of his that makes me very nervous about the NFLPA, which is that this is a kind of story that the NFLPA should be, screaming from the rooftops, basically, that there's a lot of evidence that this independent arbitrator found to prove that NFL owners were colluding against players to against guaranteed money in their contracts. So his question was, why isn't the NFLPA pushing this in every media outlet? And it's because that within the findings as well, it was found that there is reasonable suspicion of a lot of corruption within the NFLPA about their leadership. The guy that they brought in to be the executive director, settled a fraud case. He's from the finance world, and he settled a case where he did massive fraud in the finance world, and then left the investment bank that he was with to run the NFLPA. And the player that's the head of the NFLPA, who was the player representative at the time, he was let go by the Cardinals, and so he wasn't able to be the player representative anymore. So when that guy got hired to be the executive director, he made up a role to keep this guy in the NFLPA, ostensibly so that he can become the executive director at some point when this guy's term is over, and probably before the next negotiations in around 2028, 2029. So all that to say, my stinger is that, labor perspective in the MLB and NFL does not look great for the next CBAs with ownership, and even in the NFL, unfortunately, the union acting very, very shady these days. Long-winded, I apologize, but that's my stinger.
Yeah, it's bad news. I remember as soon as the MLB's last CBA was locked in, which delayed the 2022 season, immediately people were saying, well, we're going to have a lockout next time too. So not looking forward to that. And then the NFL thing, I started watching that video you referenced. A lot of crazy stuff going down. So shady on both sides. So interested to see. And I got to say, one little good takeaway from that is that the Broncos did not have to give Russell Wilson a fully guaranteed contract, because that would have been even more disastrous than it already is. But my stinger for the week is baseball related. I already talked about it a little bit, but You know, I don't want to get political really, but today was not a great day for me in that world. And then all of a sudden, going on Twitter to try to escape those kind of feelings and thoughts, and who do I see but some of my favorite players just walking through the Oval Office shaking Donald Trump's hand. It just my stingers in general, like the Red Sox just being kind of a laughing stock of baseball this year in a lot of ways, and they brought it on themselves. But I just don't like seeing it. It's not a fun thing to be that team, and I know the Angels have been that team at various points.
Yep.
The Seahawks have been that team at various points. The Broncos have been that team at various points. It happens. You all go through the stages, and um, I had more fun when the Red Sox were just like the dominant team in the American League, like for a lot of my childhood. So I kind of miss those
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my stinger for the week.
Yeah. And then we'll back to back it with your dinger since I went so long. Continue with the good, and we'll end there with the good. Your good, and then my good.
Yeah, this is a good dinger. As soon as I saw I flagged it in my head. The popular computer game Backyard Baseball 2001 is coming to Steam, which means anyone with a computer can get it and have it. And this is a dinger. This company, I don't know who they are exactly. They bought the rights to Backyard Baseball and Backyard Football, all the backyard games, which were very popular when we were kids. They are super fun. But the special thing about 2001 is that it was the first year that they brought actual MLB players and teams into the game. So when it got bought, there was some uncertainty surrounding what rights do they have regarding MLB or NFL for that matter, any of the other sports. Um, but it appears that everything is good with that. There was 31 MLB players on the original game. I guess only 28 of them are coming back. I haven't seen anywhere which ones, but I would assume Kurt Schilling will not be in it. I would assume maybe Barry Bonds will not be in it, which it's kind of a bummer. It'd be cool to have all of them, but regardless, it's cool to bring a game that was so important to me and so many other kids my age. It's back, and like kids today can play it, adults today can play it. Um, it's easy to access, and they brought the other ones to Switch and PlayStation, so
Yeah.
maybe down the road that'll happen for this one as well. Um, but I mean, how cool is that? A game coming out to play in 2025 is going to have Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken Jr., Vlad Guerrero Sr. Like just so many great names from our childhood, and we all get to play it again. So I just think that's really cool, and I'm excited to see a new audience enjoy that game.
Yeah. It's going to be a blast, and hey, the old audience is going to love it too. That's for sure. We're gonna have fun with that. Okay, so we'll end on my dinger, which is All-Star related. My guy, Javier Baez, he will be the starting center fielder for the American League in the All-Star game. No secret to anyone who watches baseball that he has not played well the last couple years with the Tigers. He was sort of kind of a one of the less encouraging aspects of that team last year. That was a surprising playoff team. But this year, he's been playing well. He he's had a couple, maybe a couple two homer games this year, at least one for sure. It's just nice to see a player that I like so much, rise once again. Maybe it'll last for a while, maybe it won't, but with a player like Javi, who I really, really like, I enjoyed his time with the Cubs a lot, and then now that he's sort of back on top for a little while with the Tigers, it's interesting, when a team has success like the Tigers had last year, and certainly the success they're having this year. Um, I would say that contributes a little bit to reinvigorating a player and keeping him motivated to fix the things that have gone wrong and things like that. And it seems like Javi has taken some steps there. So it's great to see him in the All-Star game. Fan voting is, it can go one way or the other as far as determining starters. But for me this year, fan voting was a W. Because not only did Javi Baez make the team, but we also avoided a 2015 Royal situation in the NL with the Dodgers this year, where like every position is Dodgers. Only a few starters are the Dodgers this year. So
Pretty
we
deserving.
avoided that. Yeah, and deserving. If it had been a 2015 Royal
Hmm.
situation, I could not make an argument against it. But happy to see that some other guys in the NL are getting some shine. So, but yes, Javi Baez making the All-Star team and starting is going to be amazing, and I'll love it. I'll love it.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, I thought he was capital C cooked. I thought
Yeah.
there was no resurrecting this career. So it's great to see, even if it doesn't last. This is a cool thing for him. And here's hoping that Chris Bryant is next year's version, because
Yeah.
I like that old Cubs team, and I hope for success for all those guys. Kyle Schwarber has been great,
Mhm.
but um, yeah, it was really cool to see Javi Baez, and starting in the outfield is funny. He's starting. He started at shortstop in an All Star game. He started at second in an All Star game, and now he's going to start in the outfield. I don't know how many times that's happened, if ever. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was like I think Pete Rose uh, was one that started multiple, and then maybe one more that I already forgot. But it was just yesterday, but I already forgot it. But so only a couple times at most has it ever happened before this. So yeah, really cool. All right, so look, that's it for our show this week. We talked about a lot, and now I look like I'm in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries on this camera. So we got to get out of here. But thanks for watching. If you watched, if you are not subscribed to us yet here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. And, until next time we record, take care, and we will see you then. Goodbye.
Bye. Shout out Matt.